Hello and welcome to Fast Effect Double Speed Magic from ELD's Time Vault Games. This is the final of our monthly ELD Premodern Open. We have Shane on Stasis, we have Rodney on Reanimator, and buckle up, this is going to be a long ride. I'm sure you can see from the timestamp. I don't know where it's going to land, but it was a very long one in person. We are going double speed here. We're going to be able to cut out the sideboarding as well, so hopefully this will move along at a brisk pace, even though it is a epic final match to close out a extremely competitive tournament. Here we go, Rodney on Reanimator, opening up with a Putrid Imp. Now the dynamic of this matchup is going to be very interesting. It feels really in Reanimator's favor. Stasis is going to be looking to completely lock out the board, and as a result of that, they can win with Black Vice eventually. The hard part about that is Putrid Imp will literally let Rodney always stay underneath a Black Vice. He'll never actually have so many cards in hand that he takes damage from it. And Cabal Therapy actually snipes a Chain of Vapor, one of the few relevant cards in this matchup. If Rodney can keep discard outlets on board, the only way for Shane to win would be literal decking. He's just never going to be able to win with a Black Vice as long as he has Putrid Imp or Zombie Infestation on board. Now, Chain of Vapor is relevant because Shane has 4 copies of that to be able to bounce those discard outlets and potentially steal the game back. But if Rodney doesn't commit his mana and he can just replay them from hand, that could be, virtually unwinnable. Of course, things can line up in all sorts of different ways. Rodney's going to try and close this out before actual decking. Shane has Impulse that he's already used. And he'll draw. So he would deck first, assuming they're both on 60 cards, and I believe they are. Rodney might actually be on 61. He's a bit of a mad lad, so he's on 61 on occasion. I'll go ahead and post the lists in the comments also. You can double check there. We have a Reanimate on just Bladewing. That is not how you draw it up at all. Reanimate typically will bring back Bladewing, who will then bring a whole bunch of other boys back from the yard, usually Rorik's and Bladewing's Thrall for 13 damage just off the single Reanimate. Of course, it's 3 bodies as well, making it more resilient to Swords to Plowshares than many Reanimator strategies. Getting back something like an Acroma is pretty cool, but it does lose really hard to a single piece of removal, whereas this does have 3 bodies. Also, the utility of sacrificing Bladewing for all the Cabal Therapy is pretty significant as well. Now, Stasis is currently down, and that is going to slow the game to a screeching halt. Rodney's going to need to find a way to get 12 more damage in order to get Shane out of there. Or just get enough discard outlets actually resolved and on board that Black Vice will be of 0 use. Now, it's also possible Shane will have a copy of Stroke of Genius or even Brain Freeze as a way of milling Rodney out if he does decide to drag this game out indefinitely. The decking is a possibility. Again, I'll put a list in the comments. Depends on how Shane decides to build the deck. Ball Therapy. An extremely powerful card for Rodney all tournament. One of those cards that, a player's knowledge of the format, not just understanding like what cards your opponent has in hand and getting those cards out. It's really about what cards are going to be the most impactful. So sometimes you'll be aware of a card and not name it with Cabal Therapy and whiff. And that's still the correct play because you don't necessarily care about that known card. It's not necessarily going to actually win the game or impact the game in a way that matters enough. But Cabal Therapy hitting that card that, like Chain of Vapor, potentially. And we see here this Stasis needs to go. Shane wasn't able to maintain the Stasis. Usually what you'll be able to do during your opponent's end step, you'll be able to Chain of Vapor your own Stasis, pick it up, untap all your islands, replay it, and just keep that lock going. That'll be plenty of time to find another Chain of Vapor or eventually Forsaken City and keep that lock going indefinitely. So Rodney's knowledge of how this deck works really paid dividends. We have a Reanimate. Grabbing again, just a regular Bladewing. Probably has... Oh, he's got a Rorik's in there. All right, excellent. Oh, and Chain of Vapor on. Rorix. Fortunately for Shane, he didn't have the extra mana to be able to make that work. During the end step, he had to use his Chain of Vapor on the 6 damage. Yeah, earlier we saw a misdirection on Cabal Therapy. Not super exciting, just kind of wrecked Shane's hand. He could go down 2 cards. Misdirection very close to Force Will in this format. Daze has been putting in work. Rodney's, of course, bottlenecked in mana thanks to the Stasis, and Daze functioning as a hard counter when your opponent's tapped out. Yeah, this is a real slog, which is what you sign up for when you play Stasis. I mean, this is a deck that is in the room on our Tuesday Night Legacy on occasion, and you can tell the evenings where this is present, as the rounds are much more likely to go time. I think the deck can be played very efficiently, though. I think if you get in reps, I think an excellent player with Stasis can certainly navigate a typical turn structure for Series of the Final, so it's untimed. You can kind of let your hair down a little bit, contemplate your lines a little bit more. You're still expected to play at a reasonable pace, but during the Swiss, you really have to have your heuristics razor sharp and know what your plays are going to be in every situation before you're actually there. You don't want to be trying to calculate and think things through. You want to have done that work before the tournament. If you're going to play a deck like Stasis, it's really just correct in general. And certainly from tournament etiquette standpoint, it's your responsibility to be able to play your deck at a reasonable pace. And that's something that can certainly be sorted out beforehand. Similar to Doomsday. I mean, Doomsday is an incredibly strong deck. There's a playable version of it in Premodern as well, but just in general, Doomsday is a card that really requires you to do some homework. Not going to really be inventing lines during the tournament. It's not fair to your opponent. We don't have a test clock. We don't have a Magic Online timer. You can't really monopolize the entire 50 minutes. Shane's been able to play through this event and now facing what may be one of his toughest matchups, but looking reasonably stable right now. He's got the Forsaken City. He's going to be able to just keep on paying that upkeep. Of course, as we said earlier, not really going to be super relevant unless he can get all of his card outlets off of the board. If he can manage that, like a couple Chain Vapors, that would be extremely powerful. One of those cards, I've played Stasis in Old School, and you don't get to run Forsaken City, and it's one of those cards that was a huge boon to the archetype. It's really cool to have that kind of time capsule element of Premodern. I remember when this card was printed, and just looking at it, being like, oh no, Stasis is going to be a deck. It is notoriously unfun for many people to play against. I think that's a matter of opinion. But for sure, some people find it very unfun. And this is getting to be dangerous. So Stasis bounced with Chain of Vapor. Shane sacking an island and bouncing the other Putrid Imp. And now Stasis comes back down. If he can just imp off the board, Rodney's going to be in a world where he's not going to be able to keep himself underneath that black vice. Rodney's life precariously low thanks to the double Reanimate. Propaganda, interestingly pitching that card. That feels like one of the few cards that actually be relevant here. Propaganda could stop Rodney from building up the mana to be able to attack with additional creatures that he might be able to get on board. Yeah, I actually don't love that. It's interesting. So I have not played Stasis, for a really long time using Forbidden Orchard, Forsaken City. I have played it in Old School in recent years, but I would think Impulse at this point not generally going to be super exciting. You're going to see those cards anyways. I would rather pay 3 mana for Propaganda than 2 mana for an Impulse. Gush, of course, a fantastic card at all points when you're playing Stasis. Picking up those islands to replay them is absolutely huge. And you're just looking to continually make your land drops if possible. You don't need to be using Forsaken City unnecessarily. Playing an island just as good as untapping Forsaken City is actually better, I should say, because when you finally get that untap step, you just get this incredible turn of just a crazy amount of mana. Sometimes you can use it to finish the game with a card like Stroke of Genius. Other times you're just replaying Stasis and creating massive psychic damage as you have just this massive ocean of islands untapped, and your opponent can see that road into the future. You're talking about 10, 12 turns. Just for sure they're going to be able to pay the Stasis. It can be very demoralizing. Now, there's no hard lock in Stasis. This is mono blue in Old School, like you run with, isn't it? Of course, in Old School, you run Time Vault, which is really the main reason why I run it. And what we have here, a Cabal Therapy attempting to clear the way for something. That Putrid Imp seems really important. He sacrificed it to flashback ball therapy. There's Thwart Daze and Foil to be concerned with. Oh, I think Rodney just threw this game in the trash. So he had the discard on board, and we've got another counter. Oh yeah, this is unfortunate. This is not how you draw it up. A couple Black Vices are actually going to do the job as the discard. The most important thing there was Putrid and being on board, making sure that Black Vice doesn't get the job done. Eventually, in theory, you'll draw enough swamp to make something happen. But oof, that is a tough spot to be in, dropping game one. Clearing your own Putrid Imp. We'll see how Rodney does in game two if he can force a game three. All right, skipping over the sideboarding, Rodney with an ideal opening of Putrid Imp. Of course, enabling the Reanimator strategy, but also making sure that he cannot die to Black Vice as long as he keeps it on the board. And a Zombie Infestation, even better. Ooh, 2 unanswered, absolutely must-answer cards. So either one of those is a incredibly back-breaking card for Shane. He has no answer for either in this first turn. Zombie Infestation really threatens to make a unstoppable army. No more counter spells are going to be helpful here. And of course, be a very powerful strategy. But also, Zombie Infestation will just keep making guys. And eventually he will draw enough swamps to be able to push through damage. I mean, I guess technically you have to pay 2 for every zombie that gets through, so you'd have Rodney just pretty much needs to make his mana drop in case a chain of vapor is involved here. He wants to be able to replay these cards. He makes another zombie. And Shane looks like he's ready to toss his hand onto the table in anticipation of any game-winning spell. We have a... Oh, it was because of ball therapy, perhaps? So he loses Thwart. We see Counterspell is still in hand. And he goes to swing. The Powder Keg takes out the zombie, leaving Shane at likely lethal, as discarding 2 more cards will create a free damage scenario. So we're on to the third one. Rodney forcing a game 3. All right, here we go. Vice. Not likely to be super impactful. Again, Rodney has so many discard outlets. And a Duress. We see Misdirection. Powder Keg. That was one of the more devastating lines that could happen back in the day. Misdirection was a 4 of in Vintage for a while. Saw a ton of play on these. And on occasion, you would throw a Duress and your opponent would play a Misdirection targeting it, which is a totally legal play that accomplishes not what they want to happen. Misdirection can target Duress, it's still a single target, but you can't change the target as there's only one opponent. It's not like a Thoughtseize that says target player, it says target opponent. So you can basically just throw your Misdirection plus blue card into the trash and then still lose a card from Duress. There's no coming back from that. Foil was taken. Zombie infestation is down. The beatings have begun. Powder Keg, again, doesn't get rid of the infestation, only the zombie tokens. This is a fortunate situation for Shane. Looking at this Black Vice is going to do something, even if he gets down a Stasis. Gain denial on Cabal Therapy, so protecting his hand while drawing a card. Gets to draw a couple, which is not ideal when it looks like he's been land screwed here. Just a single swamp in play. Stasis coming down. And look like a Rourke discard. Or Blade Wind Arisen, I should say. Same character. From a lore perspective. Chipping in damage. So this is actually a pretty good situation for Shane. See how he navigates it. Looks like he has another counterspell in hand. He may start using Forsaken Siege to be able to keep counterspell open. Got 2 blue online. You can keep that up indefinitely. Those hand size won't grow. And every turn, Shane's going to be looking at losing 2. Sui is being discarded and returned to hand. Rodney can just keep generating zombies during every end step. There's 8 power cleared off thanks to the powder keg, but it is inevitable it'll keep happening unless he can find a way to bounce this chain of the zombie infestation, which he has here with Chain Vapor. So Stasis goes back to hand. Zombie infestation. And Stasis replayed. There's a singular 2/2 on board. See the counterspell. Black Vice. Potential problem here. Paying the blue. So he's got counterspell online. He's got Forsaken City activated or triggered during each upkeep. Keep doing that. This is good thing we're doing fast effect double speed. This game's still very long. We have counterspell taken out. This Cabal therapy and now a reanimate being jammed. Gonna go ahead and thwart. Down to just 4. Another reanimate. Looks like Shane's all out of gas. I didn't actually see what came back there. I guess it was Rorik's, because that was an immediate concession. So just like that, I mean, that is not how you draw it up in this matchup. Rodney needing to resolve a reanimate, but he does get there and takes down another ELD open. There's your Premodern champion. Congratulations, Rodney.